Thank you. Thank you for coming. It's nice to have you. It's nice to finally meet you. Follow me, please. Oh, you don't need to bring anything. Leave everything there. Yeah, it's okay. Let's get started. As soon as I stepped foot into the antique shop, I knew I had made a mistake. First, it was the taste in my mouth, acrid, metallic. Second, the chill in my chest. Then the vision flashed behind my eyelids, the sight of my own end. That was the third sign, and I should have listened. I always thought of myself as a skeptic. I used to write columns about ghosts, urban legends, supernatural phenomena, and always with the same skeptical lens. But then I met him. He appeared in my office one day, as solid as the pile of manuscripts on my desk, all sharp angles and shadows. I recognized him despite his face being unfamiliar, his name on the tip of my tongue. My gut told me he was trouble, but my curiosity got the best of me. I asked him in, offered him coffee. He declined both my intuition and the caffeine. Instead, he sat down in the chair opposite my desk, his gaze boring into me. "You called me," he said. His voice echoed in the room like a half-remembered dream. I stared at him, searching for a flicker of humor, a glint of irony. But in his eyes, I saw only truth. "How did you know?" I whispered. "You wanted to know what lay beneath the mercy you cling to," he replied, his voice flat, devoid of inflection. "You sought to understand eternity when there is no dawn. You will walk with me now." Before I could react, he was gone, vanished. The chair remained, though, sitting serenely in the center of my office, as if he had merely stood up and left. But I knew better. When he came back, it would be my time to go. In the darkness that swallows all sound, a voice rises not in thunder, but in a low, steady cadence that feels like it has been echoing since before time began. "Peter," it says, "you asked to see what lies beneath the mercy you cling to. You wanted to know what eternity means when there is no dawn. You will walk with me now. You will not close your eyes, and you will not look away." Terror rooted me to the spot as the darkness intensified. Then the first image seared into my mind. A towering figure cloaked in darkness reached toward me, his face a void of nothingness. In his hand, he held a key that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. "This," he boomed, his voice resonating in the chambers of my soul, "is the key to the kingdom. And you are the one who holds the lock." I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound escaped. Trapped in a cage of my own making, I was forced to watch as he descended into the depths. Then, as quickly as it began, it was over. The oppressive darkness lifted, leaving me bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun. I blinked, unsure if I had dreamt it all. My office seemed smaller, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee. But there was something different now, something unsettling. In the corner of my eye, I saw the antique clock on the wall, its hands frozen at midnight. And then my gaze fell upon the manuscripts on my desk, pages filled with tales of the macabre and the unknown, each one a testament to my morbid fascination. It was then I realized it wasn't a dream. It was a warning. He had come for me. When he knocked on my door, it was with the quiet persistence of a late-night visitor. No loud pounding, no impatient rapping. Just a gentle, insistent knocking that seemed to reverberate through my very bones. Hesitantly, I opened the door, half expecting to find an empty hallway. But there he was, his form as solid as the oak door behind me. "I thought you wouldn't come," I whispered, my voice betraying my surprise. He inclined his head, acknowledging my presence without a hint of a smile. "You sent for me," he stated, his voice a low rumble that echoed with an unnerving familiarity. "You wished to see what lies beneath the surface of things, to peer into the abyss and ask it no questions." Without another word, he stepped past me and into my office, his gaze sweeping over the clutter of my desk, the piles of books, the half-written manuscripts. Finally, His eyes locked onto mine, boring into me with an intensity that made me squirm in my seat. "Do you remember asking for this?" he asked, his voice laced with a sardonic amusement. "Do you recall the bargain you struck?" His words hit me like a physical blow, stirring memories I had carefully buried deep within me. I remembered the nights spent poring over ancient texts, the rituals I had half-jokingly performed under the cloak of midnight. I had always dismissed them as mere flights of fancy stories to fill my column inches. But now, confronted by the embodiment of my own folly, I saw the danger in my naivety. My attempt at a joke died on my lips. "You don't really expect me to," I stammered, searching for a way out of this predicament. "I can send you away. I can make it right." He shook his head slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. "No, Peter," he said, his voice resonating with an ancient power that shook me to my core. "You cannot undo what you have done. The bargain stands, and now it is time for you to pay." My heart pounded against my ribs, threatening to burst free. Was this the end? Had my insatiable curiosity sealed my fate? As he rose from his seat, I watched in paralysis as he approached the window. The evening sky was ablaze with color, a vibrant tapestry of red, orange, and purple. But he seemed oblivious to the beauty, his gaze fixed on the darkening horizon. "What are we waiting for?" he asked, his voice echoing strangely in the small room. "Aren't you eager to see what lies beyond?" I felt a surge of panic rising within me, twisting in my gut like a constrictor. "Beyond where?" I choked out the words, my throat suddenly dry. He turned from the window, his face illuminated by the fading light. The features were sharper now, more defined. His eyes, once obscured by shadows, now burned with an eerie, otherworldly glow. "Beyond," he repeated, his voice resonating with an otherworldly power. "To the end." And with that, he stepped out of the window. I stared after him, my mind reeling. Surely he couldn't mean, but then he turned and beckoned for me to follow. "Are you coming, Peter?" His voice echoed in the twilight, tinged with an urgency that sent shivers down my spine. "Don't keep me waiting." For a moment, I hesitated, torn between the safety of the familiar and the terrifying allure of the unknown. But then, driven by a morbid curiosity, I began to climb out of the window. As I emerged onto the fire escape, the sight before me made my blood run cold. The ground beneath me seemed to vanish into an abyss, stretching into infinite darkness. And in the distance, I heard the faint whisper of voices, beckoning me forward. I turned to retreat, but the window was gone. I looked back at the figure standing on the fire escape, his form silhouetted against the dying light. He was waiting for me. Taking a deep breath, I began to descend the ladder, each step taking me further into the unknown. The voices grew louder, weaving together into a haunting melody that echoed in my bones. At the bottom of the ladder, I found myself in a narrow alley, the towering buildings on either side blocking out the last vestiges of daylight. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay and the sound of distant screams. He was waiting for me still, his form a dark silhouette against the gloom. "Ready, Peter?" he asked, his voice a soft rumble in the oppressive silence. "Are you ready to see the truth?" There was no reply. There couldn't be, because the truth, I realized with a growing sense of dread, was not something I was supposed to witness. Then he gestured ahead. "Go on," he murmured. "It's this way." And so I walked into the darkness, deeper and deeper, into the belly of the city, into the heart of my own fears. We passed through archways of gnarled, skeletal trees, the branches clawing at the fading light above. The ground beneath us was a mosaic of cracked pavement and weed-choked earth. Finally, he stopped before a crumbling stone monolith. It was ancient, its surface covered in moss and lichen, and yet it radiated an otherworldly power that made me shiver. Turning back, I found that the path had vanished, leaving me with no choice but to press onward. With a deep breath, I reached out and touched the rough stone. In an instant, the world dissolved around me. I stumbled, bracing myself against the monolith as the darkness threatened to consume me. Then I saw it. Emerging from the darkness, he smiled, the corners of his mouth turning upward in a slow, deliberate curve. It was not a friendly smile, nor one meant to convey warmth. It was something altogether different, something ancient and predatory. And in that moment, I knew. I knew who he was, and why he had come for me. I had stumbled into a world beyond my own, a realm of shadows and secrets, and he was the guide who had brought me here. But why? Why had I been chosen? What did he want from me? Questions tumbled through my mind, but he offered no answers. Instead, he turned and beckoned with a graceful sweep of his arm. "Come," he murmured, his voice echoing strangely in the vast space. "It's time to show you what lies beyond." With a mix of trepidation and morbid curiosity, I followed him deeper into the darkness, knowing that whatever awaited me, there was no turning back. And so we walked on, venturing into the heart of the abyss. I knew not where we were going, but I sensed that the journey itself was the point. This was a pilgrimage into the darkest recesses of my soul, a descent into the abyss of my own making. And as I walked, I wondered how far down could I go? How much darkness could I embrace before it consumed me entirely? Then suddenly, he stopped, and I collided with him, stumbling blindly in the darkness. "Here," he whispered, and in his voice, I heard a note of triumph. "Here is where the road ends." He stepped aside, revealing a scene that made my blood freeze in my veins. Before me stretched an endless expanse of nothingness. It was not empty, however. Hovering in the darkness were countless figures, each one more terrifying than the last. They were beings of pure shadow, their forms shifting and undulating like smoke in the wind. Some were humanoid, others were twisted parodies of life, and still others seemed to defy any earthly description. And as I watched, mesmerized by the horror unfolding before me, they began to move, floating closer, their eyes boring into me with an intensity that promised torment beyond my wildest nightmares. The air grew thick, heavy with a cloying sweetness that set my teeth on edge. Then I heard their voices, or rather their song, a discordant chorus of whispers that echoed in my mind. "Peter," they hissed, their voices slithering through my thoughts. "We have been waiting for you." It was then I understood. This was the end, the culmination of my foolish journey, and I was not alone in facing it. They had come for me, drawn by my own summoning, and there was no escaping their grasp. I wanted to scream, to claw my way back to the world I knew, but no sound escaped my lips. I was trapped, ensnared by the darkness I had so carelessly embraced. And as the shadows closed in, enveloping me in their icy grip, I realized the terrible truth. This was not the end. This was only the beginning. You stare into the flickering depths of the brazier, tracing the patterns of flame with your eyes. Its heat does little to ward off the chill in the room, and you find yourself edging closer. Then you stop. Not because you want to touch the fire, but because you see something within it. At first, it's just a glint, like a speck of metal tossed in by accident. But as you watch, you realize it isn't metal. It's skin. The glint is the sunlight catching the scales along its underside. And that, you know, is no accident. This is no ordinary fire. And the dragon curled in its heart is no ordinary beast. That much you understood when you were brought to this chamber beneath the city. The same city where rumors spoke of ancient magic and hidden things stirred in the grime and mortar of modern life. No map or guide could lead you here. It was always found by accident, stumbled upon at the edge of vision. For centuries, people came and went, searching for whatever lay at the bottom of this pit. Some sought knowledge, some power, and some only wanted to see if the tales were true. One thing they all had in common was that they did not come alone. As you stand there watching the dragon, you remember them. There are dozens of faces you've seen before. Men who looked to conquer kingdoms and women who craved only love. Even now, they're caught in the amber of the firelight, reaching out with hands that will never touch yours. All of them thought they could bargain with the dragon, make a deal, win a prize. But none of them knew this. The dragon doesn't care about your desires, your hopes or fears. It doesn't deal in bargains or prizes. What it wants is to know what it's like to be someone else. So tell me, you ask, your voice echoing strangely in the vast hall, what would you wish if the dragon offered you anything you wanted? Don't answer out loud, but think of it carefully. What would you choose? Immortality? Power? Knowledge? What price would you pay for it? Because here, in the chambers beneath the city, prices are always collected. What did you choose? Power? The dragon flicks its tail, sending sparks flying. The brazier roars, and for a moment, you glimpse a kingdom built on shifting sands, a throne of obsidian and bone. Do you see it? The dragon doesn't show you visions of what you might become, but of what you already are, of the choices that led you to this very spot, the path of ambition and ruthlessness you walked without hesitation. You were ready to seize the throne, crush those who stood in your way. And the dragon shows you how quickly such a reign would crumble to dust. And you know, even if you could wield that power for a day, for an hour, even a single minute, it would change nothing. Because ambition is a hollow ache that can never truly be filled. How about knowledge? The dragon coils tighter, tucking its head under its wing, and suddenly you're drowning. Not in water, but in secrets. Every word ever spoken, every deed ever done, every thought that ever crossed the mind is laid bare before you. Galaxies form and die, empires rise and fall. You watch history unfold, and yet remain ignorant, alone, cut off from understanding why the pieces fit together. Would you trade everything you are, everything you've ever loved for that sight? Would you bear the crushing weight of endless knowledge for a single glimpse of what lies beyond? Or perhaps it was something simpler that you desired. Maybe it was just to see the dragon, to prove to yourself that magic still existed in a world that had long since forgotten. Maybe you only wanted to feel the dragon's attention, to bask in its wisdom, ancient and primeval, undiluted by centuries of man's interference. But the dragon doesn't offer wisdom, not for free, at least. To show you what it knows, it demands that you share what you are, fold yourself into the fire so that it may take your shape, taste your thoughts and emotions, live your life for a moment, however fleeting. Are you willing to do that? Of course not. No one would willingly offer up their entire being to a dragon they barely know. But here you are, drawn into the fire despite yourself, bound by the unspoken rules of the game. How do you escape something you didn't agree to? You look away from the dragon, seeking a path through the chamber. But the flames shift and twist until they mock your form, twisting into the shape of the hunter becoming prey. There is no escape here. There is only the choice of what to give. So you turn back to the dragon and brace yourself. It uncoils slightly, stretching towards you, and you can feel its regard boring into you, stripping away layers, leaving you bare. You try to scream, but no sound comes out. Your throat is dry, raw, like you haven't swallowed in days. The dragon dips its head closer, inhaling, and the last thing you feel is the rush of wind as it takes you whole. Then you wake up, or maybe you don't. Time loses all meaning as you ascend, floating through a landscape of dreams and memories that aren't yours, experiences gathered from countless lives lived by countless others. What you think you know fades into insignificance, drowned out by the cacophony of alien sensations. Above you, the sky twists into impossible shapes, stained with colors you didn't know existed. Below, cities stretch and shift, their streets and buildings rearranging themselves in endless variety. And through it all, the dragon is with you, sharing both prey and predator, lost in the boundless expanse of existence. And when it finally lets you go, When you return to your own body, shaking and weak, what do you see? Do you see the remnants of the lives you've touched? The ripples of kindness and cruelty spreading outwards from the center of your being? Do you see the lovers whose paths you crossed, the children you taught, the friends you betrayed? Can you see how everything in life is interconnected, how every decision echoes into eternity? Or do you see none of that? Is your vision clouded by the selfishness that comes so easily to men? Are you incapable of seeing anything but the small corner of existence that revolves around you? Either way, the dragon doesn't care. It doesn't judge, pity, or scorn you. It merely withdraws into its own depths, content with what it has learned, leaving you alone to grapple with the vision it has shown you, to carry the burden of infinite perspectives until you are broken. But when that happens, when you break and the seams of your soul split open, what do you see inside? Another dragon coiled around an ember, burning ever brightly in the blackest depths of your being. Is it real or imagined? Does it matter? You no longer have the capacity to care. You are the dragon, and the dragon is you. You are the sum total of all experience, all emotion, all thought, and that is your prison. Unless you choose to act, unless you seek out those you've hurt, those you've helped, those you've loved, and tell them, show them, become them. Only then can you hope to escape the self-enforced exile of your own making. Only then can you begin to understand what it means to be someone else. But how far would you go? When you returned from the dragon, did you ever leave? Did you really see what it showed you? What would you change? If you could undo a single moment, erase a single memory, forget a single name, which would it be? And what if you could keep only 3 possessions, 3 relationships, 3 aspects of your character? Which would they be? And what if you could keep nothing, not even your memories? What then? It's easy to say you'd keep fighting for the greater good, for love, for truth, for justice. It's easier still to say you'd have no regrets, that you'd gladly sacrifice it all if it meant saving someone else. But what if it were just you against the abyss? What if you faced oblivion and had to give up everything to win? Then you'd know. When the sun rises tomorrow, you'll wake up and it will seem like a new day. You'll go about your tasks and smile at the familiar faces. Life will go on as normal. But somewhere deep inside you, a dragon stirs. It's a part of you now. Whether you accept it or not, it's a constant companion. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it screams. It reminds you that there's more to the world than meets the eye, more to existence than you'll ever know. It urges you to explore, to reach out and touch the infinite possibilities that surround you. Most of all, it whispers of other lives, other experiences that could have been yours. Lives lived, lessons learned, stories shared. It invites you to join them, to merge your consciousness with countless others, to become a tapestry woven from the threads of shared humanity. The dragon is patient. It knows you won't make that choice today, maybe not tomorrow or the next day, but one day it hopes you will. Until then, it waits, coiled in the heart of your being, a constant reminder that the greatest adventure is always within reach, if only you dare to take it. As we make our way deeper into the darkness, I can feel its coldness seeping through my clothes and chilling me to the bone. It's not the cold that makes me shiver, however. It's the feeling that something is watching us, waiting for us, pressing against your skin as though it wants to seep inside you. Every step into it is a step into something thicker than shadow, like walking into the belly of a storm that has no sky. I reach out, not to touch Peter, but to steady myself against the intangible pressure closing in around us. As if sensing my need for grounding, he takes my hand and squeezes reassuringly. His touch is real solid, a small comfort in this sea of formless dread. The darkness ahead feels alive. It quivers with anticipation, savoring our terror. My senses reel, searching for purchase in this suffocating black. The wet footsteps we heard before are closer now, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind, as if circling. I glance back once, but there is nothing to see, only the deep, suffocating black. No matter how strained my eyes are, how desperately I try to pierce the gloom, all I can see is the darkness, and the darkness sees me. Then a miracle. A pinprick of light bleeds into view, revealing the shapes around us. It isn't warm, not inviting, but just enough to show us the way forward. I lead on, letting the dim glow draw us deeper into its murky depths. Relief floods me as we step into the faint light and find ourselves in a vast chamber. I squint, getting my bearings. Relief quickly turns to revulsion. The floor and walls are coated in what looks like melted wax, glistening ominously. But the smell is metallic, copper-heavy, the scent of blood. And hanging from the ceiling are bodies encased in hardened resin, their mouths left exposed. Their breath comes in ragged gasps. And from somewhere beyond the resin, something moves. Slow, deliberate, peeling the layers back just enough to expose raw flesh before sealing it again. Beside me, Peter gasps, his hand tightening in mine. The exploiters, I say softly. They wrapped others in traps of debt, obligation, and false promises. Now they feel their own suffocation from the inside out. In the far corner, a rhythmic sound, the thud of heavy blades descending in perfect intervals. I recognize that sound. It's the same interval as the heartbeat I felt in the beginning. Shapes kneel beneath them, their arms bound behind their backs. Each time the blades fall, they sever limbs, but the wounds knit themselves shut within moments, only to be opened again. The violent rulers, I explain without emotion. They cut down lives as easily as harvesting wheat. Now the harvest is their own. We pass into a lower corridor. The air here vibrates with a low hum, a tangible wave of misery pressing against me. The floor is smooth, but it tilts downward into a circular pit. At the bottom, a mass of bodies moves like a single organism, writhing, clutching, pulling at one another. The more one struggles upward, the harder the others drag them down. The envious, I tell you, they couldn't rise without wanting others to fall. So here, every step toward the light is only the start of another fall into darkness. Peter tries not to look, but his eyes keep flicking back to the pit as though it's calling him. I lean closer to him, and my voice drops into a whisper meant for both him and the unseen listener beyond. If you're still here, still watching, I don't blame you. Write in the comments the one sin you think would consume you first. The abyss has many faces. Sometimes it wears your own. We move into a space so wide, it feels like we've stepped outside, though there is no sky, only a vast dome of black stone above. In the center, a tree grows, though it is unlike any tree you've seen. Its branches are skeletal, its bark slick with a dark red sheen, and from each branch dangles a figure by the throat. Some are still, others twitch faintly. The Oathbreakers, I say. They swore loyalty with their lips, but their hearts served only themselves. Now their last breath is an endless moment. From the far side of the chamber, we hear a sound like glass shattering, but slower, heavier. We follow it and find a wall of translucent crystal. Inside, figures are frozen mid-scream. The surface ripples briefly, and one of the faces inside shifts, eyes darting toward us before sealing back into place. The witnesses who stayed silent, I tell you, they saw the truth and let it rot. Now they watch forever, unable to act, unable to look away. The floor ends abruptly, sloping upward, the stone warming under our feet until it almost burns. Ahead, a doorway glows not with fire, but with something far more dangerous. Light so pure it hurts to look at. I shield my eyes instinctively. Beside me, Peter lets out a breathy laugh, wonder edging into his voice. So this is hell, he says. Not bad. But his grin fades when he sees the figure standing in the light. On a platform of polished white marble kneel figures bound in chains of gold. The metal is red hot, fusing into their skin. The idolaters, I say, they didn't worship gods of stone or flame. They worshiped themselves. They sought power, dominion over others, godhood on earth. Now they are bound by the very crowns they forged. I don't bother shielding my eyes again. Light does not burn me. I turn slightly, speaking again to those watching from beyond. This is the point where most look away. Don't. Look at the one who brought you here. Look at the one who is showing you the price of ambition, pride, and power unchecked. Look at the face of true evil. You want to know what hell looks like? It looks like mercy. Hell looks like turning away from the truth, from justice, from love. Hell looks like forgetting the faces of those who suffered to protect you. Hell looks like forgetting their sacrifice was for you. Hell looks like forgetting you were ever saved. We turn back as one, leaving the light and the watchers behind. The darkness envelops me again, but this time, it's different. Colder, sharper, hungrier. I can feel it clawing at me, trying to pull me back. But something is different this time. There's a new presence here, one that chills me to the bone. A shape coalesces in the blackness, and I recognize the form with a jolt of fear. It's me, a twisted reflection of myself, my features sharp and predatory, my eyes burning like hot coals. I reach out a hand, my voice a distorted echo of my own. Come back, it beckons. Stay here where there is only peace, where there is only oblivion. Peter gasps, stumbling backward. Don't listen to it. I warn him, though my voice is weaker, further away. The darkness stirs restlessly, as though sensing our impending departure. It's okay, I murmur, forcing calm into my voice. I won't fight you today. Another day, maybe. But today, I have somewhere else to be. The creature lunges, and I brace for impact. But instead of pain, I feel a jolt of energy surge through me. I stumble, gripping Peter's arm for support. His grip is tight, grounding me. And then, miracle of miracles, I can see again. Not the darkness, though. Something else, a faint silver light like moonlight. It grows stronger, revealing the way ahead. The ground rises, becoming stairs leading upward. Together, Peter and I begin the ascent, the echo of my dark self fading behind us. I know that every step we take away from this place will be a battle to remember, to hold on to the truth of who I am, who we are, what we've been through, and what we stand for. But for now, I savor the sight of Peter's resolute profile, the feel of his hand in mine, the promise of dawn on the horizon. The darkness may always be there, lurking, waiting, but so is the light. Somewhere below your feet, footsteps echo, slow, deliberate, dragging themselves along. Turn your head, but there is nothing to be seen in the gloom. Only the ground shakes again, and you catch another glimpse of dragging steps, like phantoms. And then again, nothing. You raise your hand to brush aside a cobweb, and find yourself touching a damp wall. Cold seeps into your fingers, reminding you of the chill that lingers at the back of your throat. This tunnel was not here before, yet you know instinctively that it has always been here. Following the inexplicable pull in your gut, you step into the darkness, and the passage behind you begins to close like a wound healing over. Around you, the air grows colder, thin, and heavy. Somewhere far off, a drip echoes, and you try to call out, but your voice dies in your chest. You have no choice but to keep moving forward into the endless gloom. As the tunnel continues on, it narrows until your shoulders brush against the damp walls, and you swear you feel something watching you from the gloom, something big and patient. It waits until you are close enough to touch. Then suddenly, the tunnel opens, snapping you into an immense hollow so vast, the air itself feels thinner. At first, there is no floor at all, just a sheer drop into a void that seems to be breathing, its slow inhalations pulling at the edges of your soul. Somewhere down there, barely visible through the haze, faint red glows blink like the eyes of something enormous and patient. Then on the opposite wall, you notice a shape, man-sized, hunched as if asleep. A second shape joins the first, and then another until dozens are scattered across the floor and walls, none of them moving, none of them living. Their stillness is too perfect, their postures too serene. Your eyes search the chamber desperately for a way out, but there is nothing. All around you are shapes and colors that you do not recognize. No up or down, no left or right, just an echoing quiet that presses in from all sides. And then from somewhere within the void, you hear it, a sound so unbearable, it brings tears to your eyes. A mixture of screams and moans and something like laughter, low and cruel. You stumble back, knocking over one of the sleeping figures. It falls to the ground, but when you look down, you see that it is empty, hollow, like a discarded coat. And as you watch, another shape drifts through the opening in the tunnel and slides into the empty husk. With sudden urgency, you move to the opposite side, searching for an exit. Your fingers close around a ledge, and you pull yourself up to see that it is only a false hope. A flat surface with a lip. Nothing is real here. Nothing makes sense. And as you drop back down, defeated, you realize you are not alone. Standing on the other side of the chamber is someone you know. His name is Peter, and as he looks over, you see panic twisting his features, but there is no sound. He cannot call out, just like you could not call out. Still, somehow you manage to communicate with him, wordlessly, feeling his thoughts drift across the chasm. You want to help him, but how? Then you see it, a path, narrow but real, carved into the cliffside on the far wall. Relief floods you until you realize the rock beneath your feet is slick, and the path descends into the abyss, dropping you farther and farther into the gaping maw. You take a step, and the ground crumbles beneath you. Reaching out, you grab Peter's hand, and he grabs yours. For a moment, you both cling to the ledge, but there is nothing here, nothing to hold on to. You can see now that the path is not anchored to the chamber floor or walls. It hangs precariously from a hook driven into the side of the void. And as you stare into the black depths, you see the reason for the trembling. Not water churns below, but shapes, countless and shifting, each one clawing upward, only to fall again into the swarm. And the horrible sound fills your ears again, mocking your struggle, laughing at your fate. The deceivers, a voice says behind you, though you know it is your own voice. Not those who lied once, but those who made lies into empires. Every truth they buried now drags them down until they become the very weight they cannot escape. There is nowhere to go. You turn and grip Peter's hand tighter. Together you drop. The ground rushes up to meet you. Wind screams past. Then solid rock smarts as you land hard, scrambling back from the edge of the precipice, staring down into the darkness. But you survived. Panting, you look to Peter, whose face is white. He shivers violently, and you can feel the adrenaline draining from your body, leaving you weak. You have no idea how long you are falling, but you know you cannot stay here. You begin to climb. The air grows warmer, thicker, and you pass more of the inert figures strewn about until the path widens ahead into a platform jutting over the pit. In its center stands a figure unlike the others. It is taller, motionless, draped in chains that anchor deep into the stone. Its head is bowed, but from its presence alone, you feel it, an authority beyond the suffering around it. The figure raises its head slowly. Its face is not human, though you know it must have once been. Now it is something else, twisted and contorted into a mask of suffering. As it fixes its gaze upon you, you feel the air grow icy cold, and a voice whispers inside your mind, knowing and terrible. The keepers of despair, those who taught others to feed on hopelessness. Here, their silence keeps the abyss alive. There are no stairs here, only the tunnel stretching endlessly downward. From high above, you hear the faint sounds of dripping water, wind, and the distant screech of a bird. Glancing back, you can see nothing but darkness and a sliver of the red glow far below. But here, even as you breathe, the air grows heavy, thick as molasses. You feel its stickiness on your skin and in your lungs. The path stretches before you, promising release, but it leads into the unknown, and you do not know what awaits you there. Peter lets go of your hand, taking a hesitant step into the darkness. His silhouette shrinks in the gloom, then disappears. You step forward, and the ground gives way. You reach out blindly, fingers scrabbling for purchase, but there is nothing to hold on to. The darkness envelops you entirely, and you scream as you fall into oblivion. When you wake up, you are lying on your back. Rain pours down around you, drumming on the earth above your head. You roll over, shielding your face and scrambling back. From the mouth of the cave, lightning flashes, illuminating a rocky ceiling overhead. Looking down, you see that you are lying on soft mud. Where is Peter? Where am I? And why is the rain burning your skin? The temperature changes again. Here it is not heat, not cold, but a perfect, suffocating neutrality. The air is still heavy, but you can move now, and you rise unsteadily to your feet, brushing mud off your clothes. In front of you is a long, straight tunnel, its walls smooth and black. Turning, you see that behind you, the entrance has vanished. In its place is only darkness, and the faint red glow from somewhere deep below. At the end of the tunnel, you see a flicker of light. Hope surges through you, and you run toward it, bursting out into a vast cavern. Within, the air is alive with motion. Everywhere you look, shapes dance and weave through the air, chasing one another. You strain to get a closer look, but they are gone as soon as you see them. Then you spot something else. Everywhere around you are countless doors, each one sealed with iron and marked with a name. As you reach toward one, a hand closes around your wrist. You whirl around to see the cloaked figure standing silently behind you. Every door, the figure says quietly, is a life. Open one, and you see it all, every choice, every failure, every moment that could have been different. This is where regret comes to live, and regret never sleeps. You turn back to the doors, but Peter is kneeling in front of you now, his face buried in his hands. "We have to leave," he says, his voice shaking. "I don't want to see any of them. Please." The doors beckon, whispering promises of answers and understanding. You want to see what lies behind them, to know what could have been, but you also do not want to drag Peter further into this place. You know you cannot stay here. You turn and start down the tunnel, but the cloaked figure is blocking your way. Are you sure you do not wish to see what lies behind those doors? You ask, though you already know the answer. "I saw the flame," you say instead. The figure inclines its head slightly. "Then you know that I am here. And if you should ever seek me again," the voice drops to a whisper, "you will find me in the doors that open by themselves." Beyond the arch, the familiar sounds of dripping water and wind return, growing louder with every step. You emerge from the tunnel into driving rain and squinting against the deluge. You see Peter standing on the path above. He looks smaller now, more fragile, and you hurry to his side. Together, you walk away from the dark mouth of the cave, listening to the distant rumble of thunder. You look back, but all you can see is the mountain's gray bulk against the storm clouds gathering at its peak. "You said if we found the flame, we would learn everything," Peter says finally. "But we didn't learn anything." You stop walking and turn to him, meeting his eyes. "Remember, Peter," you say, low, certain, and absolute. "Hell is not just a place you arrive at. It is a place you build one choice at a time.